Hey guys, quick announcement just before we get on with the video. This Saturday, the 23rd of November, I will be live streaming Digimon World at 3 PM GMT plus 1. Basically just be trying to finish the game. Well, I say finish. We'll just be playing the game, right? Feel free to pop by, chat, backseat game me, whatever. Be really nice to chat to some of you. With that said, on with the video. Well then, having seen the comments on the last video, I wanted to make another follow-up because A, you guys seem to enjoy these videos, and B, there's a few things that I left out which were either pointed out in the comments or that I remembered afterwards, and therefore would just like to talk about again because it's fun. And also just because I love Digimon World. It is probably in my top 3 games of all time. With that said, if you haven't seen the prior video, Unintentional Horror in Digimon World, feel free to check it out. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below, just so we're all up to speed. That said, they're not really a series, so you don't need to watch it first or anything, or at all really. It's really up to you. And lastly, if you enjoy the content I make, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, all that YouTube stuff. It really does go a long way in supporting me as a creator and letting me know that this is the kind of content you want to see. Realistically, I just want to make content about games that I like. So if you guys like it too, it'd be really cool if you let me know. With that said, let's get on to the video. For the one guy who was disappointed that I didn't put in the Grey Lord's Mansion music, here you go, buddy. This one's just for you. Anyway, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was, well, there were a lot of comments that explained that the statues in the Misty Trees are actually a result of Kokatorimon, if that's how you say it, who is known to petrify Digimon or turn them to stone, which honestly doesn't make it any less creepy. Like, I mentioned before that there's a Tyrannomon and a Unimon, which, like, being turned to stone is horrible, but at least they're on the same level as Kokatorimon as a champion. However, if you look, there is also an Argumon, who is a rookie, and a Botamon, which is literally a baby, also petrified, which is horrific if you think about it. In general, I do think this is a really cool background detail because it's never explicitly told to you, but I suppose if you look into the lore and use a bit of kind of common sense, I guess, because Kokatorimon is also recruited in the Misty Trees, you can kind of put 2 and 2 together and work out that this is probably due to them, which, as I say, a lot of comments pointed out, so thank you to everyone who pointed that out. It was a mystery that was bugging me, and now I actually know sort of what the answer probably is. As I say, I'm not sure it's actually confirmed, but it's solid enough that I'm pretty confident that that's exactly what it is. As I say, despite that, it's, if anything, more horrific, given that it's not Digimon that have passed away, it is Digimon that have been petrified, probably against their will, by a Digimon clearly more powerful than themselves, which, personally, I would say is a fate worse than death. The other main thing I want to address from the comments based around the last video would be Cherrymon, the horrific tree creature who has haunted my nightmares for 25 years. I mentioned the differences between the design in this game versus the future design that appears in the series, and how this is much more creepy, and how I didn't really know why. Some people in the comments pointed out that the Cherrymon in this game bears a striking resemblance to Woodmon, and therefore likely kind of got split in terms of its design. So like partially became Woodmon, and also partially became the final Cherrymon design that we actually know and love, or at the very least like more than this creature. If you look at the designs, it actually makes a lot of sense. That said, again, doesn't really make it any less creepy, as he is still the stuff of nightmares, and as pointed out by another person, part of what makes him scary as well is the noise that it makes when you talk to him. Okay, so picture this. You're wandering through a barren, snowy wasteland filled with high-level and dangerous Digimon. Likely the place that you're in is actively making your Digimon sick, which you know isn't great as you're kind of their parent. And so in your adventure you look for shelter when in the distance you see a large building that seems to be made entirely of ice. As you approach, you realise it's almost like a cathedral or like a religious building. Luckily, your Digimon's a vaccine type, so you can actually go inside to explore. This was, well, at the very least, my first experience with the Ice Sanctuary, and furthermore, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a lot of other people's first experience too. And to be honest, other than the fact that the soundtrack is an absolute banger, it's quite an eerie place, to be honest with you. And I think the older I get and the more I think about the logic behind this place, the more creepy it gets for me. So let me explain. And also bear in mind that this will be from the perspective of someone experiencing the game for the first time. So if there's lore reasons behind the questions I'm about to ask, feel free to let me know. But it won't really impact how creepy, I suppose, you'd find the place on first visit. So you enter, and much like on the outside, it's kind of like a church on the inside, except everything's made of ice. There's no one around. First thing that I thought of when I see this is, who built this? Because last time I checked, I don't think Digimon really have religions, right? And therefore, is this modelled after the real world? I mean, there's a lot of things, I suppose, in the Digimon world that have similarities to stuff we have in the real world, such as, you know, the item bank being just a building, well, any of the buildings really, or the various machinery that's just kind of around, or like even SCART cables that just seem to be in the walls. But yeah, who built it would be my first question, and then additionally, where have they gone? Because there's no one here. On further inspection, you find a switch that opens up a secret passage underneath the sanctuary, and these halls again are filled with dangerous Digimon and literal secret passages, one of which I had to spend a really long time trying to find, even with guides. But eventually, when you do find your way here, there are literal teleporters that you have to traverse through to get to where you need to go, which eventually frees Angemon, who is actually quite helpful. More to the point, traversing secret frozen tunnels underneath the sanctuary. Creepy. Like, who put these here? And much like the upstairs in the Grey Lord's mansion or Mount Infinity, the ground has this kind of digital texture, I suppose, that kind of looks like a motherboard. And again, it's very cool, but I think it just adds to the atmosphere of the place. Like, I don't know, the whole building has a certain aura to it of kind of mystery and intrigue. And to be honest, again, quite creepy. Just because, again, if you think about it, who built it and where have they gone? And also, I suppose, for what purpose was the sanctuary built? And why does it look the way it does? Why does it look like a real world church or cathedral? Also, just as a side note, I've been to a church before. They're cold enough as they are. We do not need churches made of ice. That has to be the most uncomfortable place to be ever. Because you'd just be freezing the whole time. Not so much creepy as much as, like, I guess just an observation. But yeah, I wouldn't want to attend the freaking Frost Cathedral. Now, I know I mentioned that the lore wouldn't really come into it, but I did read that the main character, along with Digimon, actually essentially remove the Ice Sanctuary from their digital world, and it essentially gets shunted into the world of Digimon World Next Order, which is why the Frost Cathedral looks exactly like the Ice Sanctuary. But like, there's a whole mystery behind that as well, like why did it end up there? Which I think just adds to the whole kind of creep factor, or like even, I suppose, just air of mystery. So next I wanted to talk about the Ancient Dino region. The Ancient Dino region is just past the tropical jungle and is divided into two areas: the Glacial Time Zone, where time moves slower, and Speedy Time Zone, great name I know, where time moves quicker. I think there's a certain vibe that the area has, wherein it's, I guess, kind of like from the past, because it's a dinosaur region first of all, but more so, the Digimon around are all bigger, like the Brachiomonn, and again, dangerous Digimon like Saberdramon are hanging around. But more importantly, I think what actually makes the area creepy is essentially twofold, and more or less entirely relates to the Speedy Time region, rather than the Glacial Time Zone. So as a kid, I always hated coming here, because as expected, time moves quicker, and well, yeah, it kills your Digimon. The amount of times I've been trying to complete the main story here, exploring, doing whatever, and my Digimon ages to death in this area has just kind of deterred me from hanging around here generally. Granted, it's probably helpful for if you're trying to complete the achievement for having every Digimon, but still, there's something about knowing that being there is severely reducing the lifespan of your partner Digimon that kind of makes me want to stay away. The second facet of why it's creepy comes in kind of, I suppose, the area design itself, And what inspired me to talk about this was actually a comment on the last video by someone called Lapitra, or Lapitra. Sorry if I've said that wrong. A mix of the music, how desolate the area is, and again the music, which they were very emphatic about being part of why it's creepy. It all comes together to create an atmosphere, I suppose, which is a little unsettling. And then for me, the scariest thing, I suppose, is when you're walking in this area, you walk under a giant skeleton. What made this skeleton? Because it is much bigger than any Digimon that you've seen up until this point, or is even in the game. Like, to my knowledge, I think the biggest Digimon in the game might be Brachiomonn, but like lore-wise, I think it's Machinedramon, both of which are much smaller than this skeleton. And again, this is just a background detail, most likely because it's a dinosaur region. There's a big dinosaur skeleton, but still, it's hard not to wonder what creature, what Digimon made such a huge skeleton. And I suppose more pressingly, are there any still wandering around that are alive, and what might they look like? So that was just a few more things I guess I wanted to talk about in terms of unintentional horror in Digimon World, based on some of the comments I got, because I do enjoy interacting with you guys and highlighting some of the ideas you have and sharing those. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know by liking, commenting and subscribing. It really does support me. Or you can be a YouTube channel member for £2 a month or 6p a day, but that's not at all necessary, so don't worry about that if you don't want to. Oh, and more to the point, if there's anything you want to see in terms of a video, whether it's Digimon World or another game in the series, please let me know. I'm happy to be open to suggestions, as long as I get to talk about games I love. And with that said, I hope you all have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.